Hello, everyone, and today I am here to go over a very interesting topic, and that is the original Sonic the Hedgehog backstory that the games were based off of. So, this is obviously no longer the backstory for Sonic the Hedgehog. That must be stressed. This is what the original backstory was for Sonic the Hedgehog. And I've been playing Sonic 1 recently. And, I'm going through the Genesis games again, and I'm like, you know what? Because I'm doing a big Ultrasonic marathon, we got the opportunity to do some fun videos, and one of them I think it would be really cool is to now look at the original Sonic the Hedgehog Bible that was there for what Sonic is. So there's two different backstories. As you all know, back in the 90s, there was a difference between Sonic for Japan and Sonic for the West. That it was completely different. So we're gonna go over both of the original backstories for Sonic, the Japanese version and the Western version. Now, again, none of these are canon anymore, but it's just fun to look back on them and be like, what the hell were you thinking? So first we're gonna go with Japan because, the Japan is when in doubt. Right? Whenever people have a question about Sonic, you go to the Japanese version. So the original Sonic origin for Japan was called the Technical Files. So the Sonic the Hedgehog Technical Files, also known as the original story, is a text written internally by Sega of Japan. Though the exact date of the entire document is unknown, as is its original author, the first half of the document is based on work developed during the initial creation of the first Sonic the Hedgehog game. Part of the origin story would be shown in the third volume of the Sonic the Hedgehog story comic, which was a manga published in 1991 to promote the release of the first game, with some modifications, but the original text would be revealed in the Japanese Sonic Jam official guide. An abridged form of this document, entitled Episode 1, was later published in the history pamphlet contained in the limited edition birthday pack of Sonic Adventure 2 in both Japanese and English. So this is how we know a lot of this, is because of this fucking birthday pack. So, here is Sonic's original character outline. You guys ready? He was 18 years old, which already has been changed because he's 15 or something. He's the legendary blue hedgehog with an attitude, fastest in the land, has a strong sense of justice, but irrelevant to authority. So already there, they were doing Sonic's anti-authoritarian and all that type of stuff. He's impatient, has a short attention span, likes anything fast, loyal to his friends but fiercely independent, street smart but warm at heart. So they already had the whole, he's a nice guy deep down. Loves beauty, nature, cool music, and adventure. Not a hero, but has lots of confidence and courage. That is crazy that they were starting with he's not a hero. And at the time of recording, the 35th anniversary trailer for Sonic drop, and they just refer to him as a hero. It's so crazy how it's changed. They're he's not a hero back here, but now they're yeah, he's a hero. It's crazy. Above all, he is fast. That is Sonic's original character outline. That is crazy. I'm assuming this was written during the time when Madonna was still a feature, right? There are 3 Sonic episodes, each unfolding in another world, which were talked about since the early stages of development for Sonic Run. So you guys ready? So episode 1. Sonic in this world is the protagonist of a fairy tale. The old enemy Dr. Eggman also appears in this fairy tale. Perhaps the game Sonic was created based on this fairy tale. Oh my god, you guys fucking ready? Here we go! So, Mary Granite is a well-known fairy tale writer during the 20th century. But only few people know that her husband was a pilot at the Air Force. Her husband's hair was always sharp and straight because of his helmet, so Mary teasingly told him that his hair looked like a hedgehog. They had a daughter named Sherry, but most of the time her father was flying in the air, so she had very few chances to meet him. To make her daughter not feel lonely, Mary used to tell Sherry a fairy tale which was about Sonic the Hedgehog, who runs faster than sound. Already, you guys know where this is going. It's crazy. As time goes by, the world of this fairy tale has spread rapidly. An adventure at this world of wonder, a mystic jungle, a stormy ocean, an ancient city, a lost continent, Sonic's activities have pushed forward. Whenever Sonic finds the bad guy, he immediately appears with his boastful speed to help people. The story of the hedgehog who has a mind of justice, wisdom, and courage helped ease Sherry's loneliness. Sherry was especially pleased about the story of love between Sonic and his girlfriend because her mother seemed to be very young and beautiful when her story comes to this point. This is probably talking about, again, I'm assuming this is Madonna, right? I'm assuming this is Madonna. Very shortly after, it could be said that maybe this is Amy, you know? But I'm assuming at this point, it's Madonna, right? And you can infer that, you know, Mary is, the relationship between Sonic and his girlfriend is the relationship between Mary and her husband, whose name we don't actually see, which is weird. Later on, Sherry realized that her mother's story was based on a true story. That's episode 1. So Sonic is a fairy tale made up by a mother for her daughter. It's fucking insane. The story of an unnamed pilot, this is episode 2. The story of an unnamed pilot who exceeded the speed of sound. Whether or not he was Mary's husband in episode 1 is uncertain, but Sonic was still a symbol of supersonic speed during this era. The faster-than-sound hedgehog became a legend. In 1947, Air Force pilot Chuck Yeager, so I doubt, again, that's Mary's husband, broke the sound barrier. It could be. Shortly after reaching the speed of sound, his plane collapsed with the sound of an explosion and was never seen on the ground radar again. It is said he had the word Sonic shining on the back of his flight jacket. No one knows his name anymore. However, there isn't anyone who doesn't know the legend of Sonic. Faster and higher, the men who chase their dreams in the sky think of Sonic, who is faster than sound and took off from the ground. Fuck, man. This is crazy thinking about this. Chuck could be Mary's husband. Could be. The story, episode 3, the story of Sonic that appears in the present day. Given the time, okay, yeah, so we'll go about this later, right? Because that is spoiler. So, in the 1980s, an antique dealer named Jeff acquired a vintage flight jacket. It was covered in dust, but it was made of good quality leather. It had a nice atmosphere. He took it home and found something while taking care of it. Oh, isn't this cute? Sonic. Sonic. On the back of the jacket was a cheeky blue character drawn. Jeff muttered to himself, "Are you a lion or a cat? I don't know." One day, a young woman came into Jeff's shop for the first time in years. With a beautiful face that seemed completely unrelated to the antiques, she was looking around the store and saw the flight jacket displayed in the glass case behind Jeff. It seemed to have stolen her heart. "Young lady, you seem to like the jacket." "Yeah, Sonic is written under the picture. I feel like I've heard it somewhere before." "Ho ho, Sonic seems to be the name of that lion-like dude." "Yes, Sonic. Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog! I remember! Sonic the Hedgehog of justice, wisdom, and courage. It was a fairy tale I heard when I was a child. He's a hedgehog, the fastest hedgehog around." It seems like you haven't seen this guy for the first time, ma'am. Would you like to take the jacket?" "Oh, yes, please." Her name was Meg. She works as a freelance technical photographer. Her favorite companion nowadays is a vintage flight jacket she picked up at an antique shop on a trip, and she always wears it to her job. Strictly speaking, it wasn't the jacket herself, but the cheeky-looking hedgehog character named Sonic drawn on its back, and it felt like taking him with her. She thought he liked her. Then one day, an accident happened. It happened when she went to an airfield show held at a suburban airfield for coverage. During one of the show's selling points, an aerial acrobatics performance, 2 planes crashed with each other. One was wrecked and the other crash landed on the ground. The other aircraft was trying to land, staggering and attempting to regain its balance. Meg continued to shoot the moment of the crash in front of the spectator seats, with the motor drive roaring. "No way!" The crashed plane roared and burst into flames. Unable to hold back, Meg jumped out of her seat, grabbed her camera, and was about to run to the scene when the other plane, which had just landed nearby, swerved in a direction and slid into her. She could see the wing and iron plates fluttering like paper from the large lump of iron approaching in front of her. Just as she crouched, the engine exploded, engulfing Meg in a blaze of fire. A jet of fuel hit the audience and caused havoc. Meg saw something in the flames. A blue creature stood in front of her and pulled her hand and said, "This way, run!" When she stood up as she was told, he said, "Hurry up!" Meg ran while being pulled by her hand. He's Sonic, Meg thought. She was running hand in hand with Sonic. When they arrived in an unknown field, he said, "Darn. From now on, you'll have to look ahead and walk." After Meg nodded, she ran off somewhere. When she woke up, she was in a hospital bed. Was she dreaming? She couldn't figure it out. She was told she had fallen unconscious on a hill overlooking the airfield. Everyone was asking how she survived the explosion. She couldn't say because of Sonic, and she had no choice but to reply she didn't remember. The jacket she was wearing was tragically scorched black by the heat of the fire, and she didn't know where the Sonic emblem had gone. A photograph of the incident was developed, and Meg looked at the picture. There was a photo that she didn't remember taking, and there was a red pointy shoe in the picture. Sonic! Meg took a deep breath and then slowly exhaled as she caught her breath. Meg thought of Sonic and was determined to meet him. Fuck, man. That is the OG story. So, to recap, a woman called Mary Granite, made up a fairy tale for her daughter, Sherry, about a hedgehog called Sonic, who was the fastest thing around. Then, as it says in the episode 3 little bio that I stopped reading, it says, given the time, is Meg Mary's granddaughter? It's not strange to think that, but the truth is still a secret. The flight jacket that appears in the story is said to be owned by the people in the department, including the middle manager of Sonic Team. That's a fun little thing. So yeah, Meg could be Sherry's daughter, and she heard the story of Sonic from her grandmother and mother. You know, that could be a thing. And then eventually one day Meg is about to die, and it looks like Sonic, the real Sonic, appears, and the emblem on the jacket is gone. Did he burst out from the jacket? That is crazy. That is nuts. That is fucking nuts. But there's more. There is the game story, which is called Game Story, adapted from the stories of Mary Granite. Fuck. Sonic was born on a small... Okay, so this is another... This would be like the story of the in-universe Sonic, right? Not the story of his conception, but this is the in-universe story of Sonic from Mary. So you guys ready? Sonic was born on a small island called Christmas Island, but his love for adventure called him away, and he has visited so many different places that he doesn't really have a place he considers to be home. The Sonic stories center around his favorite group of islands, including South Island, Sonic 1, West Side Island, Sonic 3, and Angel Island, Sonic 3. Sorry, West Side Island is Sonic 2. The first Sonic story is located on South Island, which is quite beautiful. This island is known for the curious fact that it floats around in the ocean. That's why it cannot be found on any map. Sonic is fond of sitting on its beach in his beach chair wearing sunglasses and listening to the cool rock music. Hell yeah. Sonic loves to sing in his own rock band and enjoys being with his friends, but he's just happy to be alone. So yeah, Sonic was initially going to be part of a rock band. Here's the picture. So yeah, this is a known fact that Sonic was going to be part of a band. So the band would have featured Sonic as the lead singer, with Sharps the Parakeet on lead guitar, Mac the Rabbit on drums, Max the Monkey on bass guitar, and Vector the Crocodile on keyboard. This is Vector's conception, by the way. Yeah, holy shit. So like, all these other characters were scrapped except for Vector, because Vector was repurposed for Knuckles Chaotix and then becoming a member of the Chaotix and all that type of stuff. So Vector came back. I'd love to see some of these other characters come back. Please, God, like in some form, like let them come back. So what they were gonna be for is they were gonna be in the sound test screen. They were gonna have a sound test screen, and when you would play the music, the band would do it. That's crazy. They had to cut it because of time, because they didn't have room for it, which sucks. But that is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. It's amazing. And in the end credits of Sonic the Hedgehog 8-bit, Sonic is singing during the end credits. So there's still some of that there. But this is so cool that he was gonna have a rock band. It's crazy. So anyway, moving on. Sonic loves to sing in his own rock band and enjoys being with his friends, but is just as happy to be alone. And Sonic would be very happy enjoying his own pastimes were it not for the consistent intrusions of his arch-rival, Dr. Robotnik, also known as Eggman because of his round shape. The evil Doctor seems to have an endless supply of fiendish plots to take over the world, but Sonic seems to have always found a way to frustrate his plans and keep him at bay. This has given Sonic somewhat of a celebrity status with the local inhabitants, and he is loved by all as much as Robotnik is hated by all. West Side Island is a very ancient island with plenty of treasures and ancient ruins. It is also said to contain a small supply of a very powerful natural crystals called the Chaos Emeralds. These multicolored emeralds have tremendous power and could be used to create the most powerful nuclear bombs and laser weapons if they fall into the wrong hands. Legend says that they exist here, but nobody can remember actually seeing them. The reason for this is that the Chaos Emeralds exist in a different dimension, and no one has yet been able to find a way to actually possess them. So that different dimension is, of course, the special stages. One day, Dr. Robotnik heard the story of the Chaos Emeralds and vowed to do whatever it took to acquire them for his own evil purposes. He and his henchmen built a huge fortress where he made robots of many different types and sent them off to find the Chaos Emeralds. Sonic stood up in defiance of Robotnik's troops and kicked them all back into the fortress, telling them to never come out again. But the evil Doctor had other plans. Emeralds. As he sulked away, he vowed that he would find the Chaos Emeralds and get his revenge on Sonic the Hedgehog. A short time later, Sonic made an amazing discovery. His friends had all disappeared. Robotnik had captured them and turned them into robots. Dr. Robotnik was converting Sonic's friends into slaves, and Sonic was the only one who could save them. Will Robotnik succeed in his quest for the emeralds while extracting his revenge on Sonic? Can Sonic subdue the horde of robots without hurting his friends inside? Will Robotnik take over the world? So begins the video game saga of Sonic the Hedgehog. That is the Japanese technical files. Fuck me running, huh? What a time. So Sonic was a story told by a woman to her daughter so her daughter wouldn't feel lonely that her dad isn't there. And he may have become real life. It's insane. It's absurd. And I love it tremendously. And as you can see, like, the game idea, right, for, like, the story of Sonic is pretty similar to what we have, bar, like, you know, the Rock Band. It's still pretty similar. So that is the Japanese technical files. Now we move on to the US Bible. So the Sonic Bible, US Bible was an internal document created by Sega of America in 1991 during the production of the original Sonic game. At the time of writing, Sega of America had little to no exposure to any original Japanese fiction relating to Sonic, and the Bible was an attempt to establish the definitive Sonic backstory in non-Japanese regions. So here's my thing. I can understand you're like, oh, we don't have any knowledge from, you know, Japan on what to do. Why don't you ask? Why don't you just go to them and be like, hey, man, can you guys send us your fucking, like, lore? Like, just ask, dude. Just ask. You're Sega as well. Be like, hey, Sega, from one Sega branch to another Sega branch, can you help a brother out? You know? But you know, they just decided to make their own Bible. So it was never published and continually revised during development, so many different versions exist. Nevertheless, there are several common elements that appear in every version. In particular, according to the Bible, Dr. Robotnik was once a kind human scientist named Dr. Ovi Kintobar, before being turned evil by a lab accident. The original story from the Bible was used in the writing of the Sonic the Hedgehog promotional comic, the guidebook Stay Sonic, which in turn, this all was influenced the backstory in UK's Sonic the Comic series. Later drafts of the Bible also provide the first reference to Mobius as Sonic's home planet. So yes, this, I know about the Ovi Kintobar thing from Sonic the Comic, because they really go and use that as the origin. In January and February of 2009, Dean Sitton, a former Sega of America employee who had invented the name Ira Robotnik and the names of various badniks in the Western localizations, joined the Sonic Retro Forum. During discussion of his involvement with the property, he mentioned he possessed various copies of a Sonic Bible from 1991, and a fan asked him to scan it. He did, and he put copies of the Bible up for sale on eBay. It was purchased by an Australian Sonic Retro Forum member named Nemesis, who scanned and uploaded them to the forums. There were 3 versions of the Bible released: an early version, Draft 1, and Draft 2. So here we go. Let's go with the early version. You guys ready? Fucking here we go. Okay, so the earliest version of the Bible currently released includes only one section, Sonic's origin story. The backstory is considerably different from that of later drafts, being set on Earth in the early 21st century, which would have been the near future when the Bible was written. Specifically, Sonic, whose real name is revealed to be Sonny Hedgehog, alright, lives under a hedge next to a burger joint in Hardly, Nebraska, with his mother and 5 sisters. This poor fucking hedgehog has to deal with 6 women. Don't wish that upon anyone. He is a regular hedgehog about the size of a bowling ball. He even visits bowling alleys to play practical jokes on the bowlers by curling up and pretending to be a bowling ball. He is naturally fast as he runs along hedgehogs at great speeds, a skill he inherited from his deceased father. Although he doesn't speak human language, he learns to read and write by watching human children play. Against his mother's wishes, Sonny joins Hardly's track team. He wins many awards until the time comes to hibernate. While hibernating, he is accidentally dug up by Ovi Kintobar, who is using the Cogwinder retractable Partulent Corer, to search for emeralds, not yet referred to as Chaos Emeralds in this version. Specifically, the Grey Emerald. Don't put fucking weird words in this one. I can barely speak English, alright? Kintobar uses a machine called the, oh Jesus Christ, the Lingua Scramblerum to teach Sonny to speak human language. So English. Kintobar, who allows Sunny to call him Dr. K, explains that he needs the emeralds to reverse years of pollution and return planet Earth to its natural state. Kintobar operates a lab under a local toxic waste dump, where he rescues poisoned and struggling animals. Sunny befriends many of these animals before being appointed as Kintobar's assistant, at which point Kintobar starts teaching him about physics. In order to pass the time, Sunny uses a treadmill that Kintobar has constructed, but when he breaks the sound barrier, which is 761 miles per hour, he inexplicably crosses all known limits of acceleration and starts running at the speed of light. Kintobar is alarmed and slows the treadmill, only to find that Sunny has been turned blue by the advanced non-consecutive cobalt effect. Kintobar renames Sunny as Sonic due to his display of fast speed. Sonic uses his new speed to help Kintobar with his work, and in the process discovers the Reverse Quantum Bioformulator, a machine composed entirely out of gold rings. Dude, what? My brain's fucking melting. Okay, Kintobar has used this machine to transmorph all the evil in the world into 6 emeralds, cut by Kintobar himself, which he has stored in a lead-lined cabinet. Kintobar says that the emeralds could eliminate all evil and pollution if stabilized by the gray emerald, or else double the amount of evil in the world if they were to be distributed by radiation. Just then, a wave of radiation penetrates the Earth's atmosphere and affects the emeralds. What a convenient plot point. The Reverse Quantum Bioformulator turns on and casts a beam of light at Kintobar. The emeralds and a half-rotten egg he was eating. There is no explosion, but Kintobar is transformed into the obese and evil Dr. Ivo Robotnik. Sonic grabs as many golden rings as he can, then escapes. That's the origin. Fuck, he literally became Eggman because he got fused with an egg. He's literally a rotten egg. It's so stupid. Ovi, Kintobar, Ivo Robotnik. They must have felt really proud when they came up with that, huh? He's also called Eggman, so why are we gonna make him, an egg? How about he literally gets fused with an egg? Jesus fucking Christ. So Drafts 1 and 2 were both produced on June 24th, 1991, and are much closer to the early Sonic canon that was eventually established. So, at the time of writing, Sega of America had little to no exposure of any Japanese fiction relating to Sonic, and the book was an attempt to establish the backstory of Sonic in the non-Japanese regions. Although the early Sonic canon was not explicitly used as a backstory in any of the American TV shows, such as Adventures of, Sonic SatAM, and Sonic Underground, or the Archie comics series that were based on them, they used certain elements that were introduced in the Bible. The most obvious element was the fact that these stories were set on planet Mobius, a name that first appeared in the Sonic Bible. Other references include the Warp of Confusion from the Adventures of Sonic, which the Sonic Bible uses the name of the original Sonic special stages, along with Princess Sally and the Freedom Fighters of SatAM, who were loosely modeled on Sonic's animal friends. No Japanese media ever followed the backstory established, nor adopted the early Sonic canon. As storylines were integrated into the games, the Japanese homegrown backstory became more prominent worldwide, and the elements of early canon were marginalized. The early Sonic canon was finally completely retconned away with the release of Sonic Adventure 2, which revealed that Dr. Robotnik's grandfather was named Gerald Robotnik, contradicting the early Sonic canon backstory that Robotnik had once been called Dr. Kintobar. While Japanese media still heavily ignored elements related to the Western media, Sonic Spinball, a game officially produced by Sega, is the exception to this, as it depicts Dr. Eggman's bodysuit based off of his Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog design, including Scratch from the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog TV show itself in one of the bonus stages. Also, Spinball, I believe, has SatAM characters in it. Inclusively, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine released for the Sega Mega Drive, takes place in the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog universe, was also released in Japan, despite any related work barely having exposure there. Although the early Sonic canon was abandoned long ago, elements from this work have been used in the Sonic the Hedgehog live-action films, such as naming Sonic's home planet Mobius. That is true in the Sonic 2 novelization. Knuckles calls Sonic a child of Mobius. So even to this day, you're still going to find people who refer to Sonic's planet as Mobius, and the characters are called Mobians and all that type of stuff. We did an entire video on Planet Mobius. You should check it out. So there we go. That's the early Sonic the Hedgehog canon from both Japan and America. It has all since been done away with, but it's just fun to look back at what they initially thought of, right? It's real fun to just see what we had. It's fun. Like I said, it's a fun curiosity just to be like, this is what they were going with. I think the Japanese one's fucking crazy. Sonic is a story. That's amazing. He's just a story told. Like, that's crazy. Also kind of meta, you know? But then the American one is fucking nuts. It's fucking nuts, dude. They're both crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I love them both to death. So there we go. That is the original Sonic the Hedgehog Bible, the technical files, the origin story of him. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments down below. Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below. And I will see you guys all next time.